Hello and welcome to this GCSE Physics exam preparation video. This is on national and global energy resources. Energy resources can be used for generating electricity, for transport or for heating. They are not to be confused with the energy stores. The main resources available are fossil fuels, which are coal, oil and natural gas, nuclear fuels, biofuel, geothermal, the sun, wind, water waves, hydroelectricity and the tides. They can be placed into the following categories. There is renewable. This is a resource that is being or can be replenished as quickly as it is used. And non-renewable. This is a resource that is being used faster than it can be replenished. The following energy resources can be used for transport. Fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas. Coal can be used in steam trains. Oil produces diesel used for cars and ships. Oil also produces petrol used in cars. Biofuel can also be used in some cars. Many cars now use electricity. Electricity generation is discussed later on in this video. The following energy resources can be used for heating. Again, fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas. Oil heaters, gas central heating, coal fires, these are all methods used to heat homes. Biofuels, burning wood, as wood is a biofuel, is used to heat homes. The sun, solar panels can heat up water which can be pumped into radiators. And geothermal, ground source heat pumps take in the heat from the ground and they can use it to heat your home. There are many ways that energy resources can be used to generate electricity. You need to know the pros, advantages, and cons, disadvantages for each method. We're going to start with the non-renewables. Fossil fuels, like coal and oil, are burnt. The heat is then used to turn water into steam. The steam turns a turbine, and the turbine turns a generator, which generates electricity. This method is reliable, which means the electricity can be generated at all times. However, it releases carbon dioxide, CO2, which is a greenhouse gas. This contributes to climate change. Also, because the water needs to be heated to steam, this takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. It has a long start-up time. It takes a while for a coal or a oil-powered fire station to actually start to produce electricity. When using gas to generate electricity, the gas is burnt and the resulting convection currents turn a turbine which turns a generator. A pro is it's reliable. Electricity can be generated at all times. It also has a short start-up time as burning gas quickly produces convection currents to move the turbines. It's much faster than coal or oil, where you would have to wait for it to heat up the water into steam. However, a disadvantage, a con, is it releases carbon dioxide, CO2, into the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas, and this contributes to climate change. Another non-renewable is nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel undergoes a process called fission. This releases a lot of heat. This turns water into steam, which turns a turbine, which turns a generator and produces electricity. The advantages of this are that it's reliable. Electricity can be generated at all times. It does not produce carbon dioxide as the process does not involve burning. It produces more energy per kilogram of fuel than coal. However, it produces toxic radioactive waste that is radioactive for thousands of years. And because the water needs to be heated to steam, which takes a lot of energy, it has a long start-up time. Let's move on to renewables. Biofuels like wood and animal waste are burnt. The heat turns water into steam, and the steam turns a turbine, and this turbine turns a generator. The advantages, the pros, are that this is reliable. Electricity can be generated at all times. It's also considered to be carbon neutral, but this is only if the tree growth matches the tree burning. However, the disadvantage is it does release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas and contributes to climate change. Geothermal, this involves water being piped underground to where the rocks are hot. The water is heated into steam, and the steam comes up the pipes to turn a turbine, which turns a generator. The disadvantages, the cons, It can only be used where the Earth's crust is thin, so there are very few suitable locations for this type of electricity generation. Advantages: it doesn't produce any carbon dioxide as the process doesn't involve burning. It's also very reliable and it can be used at all times. Hydroelectricity is where the water at a height is allowed to run downhill. The moving water is then used to turn a turbine, which turns a generator. The advantages of this, the pros: it does not produce CO2 as the process does not involve burning. It has a short start-up time as the turbines will turn as soon as the water flows. However, the disadvantage, the con: it will flood habitats of some animals and plants. The tides: tidal water is trapped behind a tidal barrage. When the tide goes out, there is a height difference in the water either side of the barrage. Water is let through gaps in the barrage, and as it moves through, the water turns turbines, which turns generators. The advantages of this type of electricity generation: it does not produce CO2 as the process does not involve burning. It's also reliable. The tides go in and out twice a day, every day, so electricity can be generated at these times. But the disadvantages are it floods the habitat of some animals and plants. Wind turbines are turned by the wind and the turbines turn generators. Water waves: as the water moves up and down, they move a turbine which turns a generator. And the sun: this uses a process where sunlight is directly turned into electricity. All three of these methods to generate electricity have the same advantage. They do not produce carbon dioxide as the processes do not involve burning. They also have the same major disadvantage: they're not reliable. They all depend on external factors. It's not always sunny or windy, so they're not always going to produce an amount of electricity that you can rely upon. You may be asked to describe and explain data relating to trends in energy use. Here are some examples. Description of this graph might be: the wind produces less power in the summer months than it does in the winter. And the explanation would be because it's more likely to be windy in winter than in summer. Description: solar power does not produce as much energy as wind does when wind is at its maximum, but solar does produce more energy than wind in the summer months. The explanation: this graph is for a country that does not get a lot of sun but is more sunny in the summer months. On this next graph, the description might be: the use of fossil fuels has decreased from the 70s till the 2000s, then it started to level off. The explanation: understanding of the pollution caused by fossil fuels meant their use was reduced. Reliable, so still needed for baseline electricity production. The description: renewable use has increased. And the explanation for that: more solar cells, wind farms, wave generators have been produced. Scientists can use evidence to find trends in data that give us an understanding of how energy production affects the environment, but they don't always have the power to deal with these issues. The following are reasons that changes can be difficult to make: political, social, ethical, and economic. You may have to comment on these things to answer a question in the exams. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for listening.